Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey there, how you doing? Welcome. It be still January 29, 2019, and it's a Tuesday, and my sister Susan is joining us from, oh, is she lucky, Southern California. Suze?
Oh, burr.
Yeah, so the high tomorrow in Chicago is, I think, supposed to be 13 below.
Yeah.
The high, 13 below.
I know.
That'll be the lowest high in Chicago history. I mean, as far as
I know. I know people have canceled out their days. Told people not to go to work.
Right.
Just stay home.
Stay home.
Drip your water out of your faucets, and that's that. So
yeah, right.
Happening.
Susan?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You all of a sudden, your voice did some weird thing. Bloop, bloop.
What?
Oh, it's probably.
Did a what?
It's who knows? It's audio. So yeah, it's not going to be that cold here, but it's going to be historically cold here as well. So not looking forward to this. Green Bay, I can't imagine.
No,
I can't imagine.
Well, Green Bay. I had a call from Green Bay yesterday.
What did they say?
That it was snowing, that it was basically a blizzard whiteout.
Right, that's true. Right.
That they had already shoveled once, and an hour later there was something like 7 inches back down on the ground.
Right.
And they were getting ready to go out and do it again, and so it's awful. I mean, they're shoveling, and it's the same temperature in Green Bay right now that it is in Chicago. It's one, but the wind is gusting to like 35 miles an hour, so that's making it 17, 20 below.
Yeah, well, I know there's a picture. There's a picture of a guy from Manitowoc on the front page above the fold. I think Wall Street Journal today, and it's in this whiteout blizzard that they had yesterday. Green Bay is 30 miles north of Manitowoc. For some reason, there's pictures of Manitowoc in the New York Times today. some photographer was in Manitowoc for some reason, Susan, and there's a lot.
I have no idea.
A lot of snow, cold photos from there. Yeah, but so airlines are already canceling flights. Schools are canceling. It's going to just be closed down for a few days, I guess.
Well, and it was starting yesterday because my son was trying to fly home from a business trip, and all the traffic was all held up, and flights were canceled and rescheduled, and I think he finally got in at 1 o'clock in the morning, but he had started sometime around noon.
Well, he's lucky. He's lucky he got in because they say that most of the flights are canceled.
Yeah.
Okay, so enough about
I
whether
know.
it'll happen. There's nothing we can do.
You do know what the president tweeted this morning, right? About
global warming.
Yeah.
He did. What did he say?
Oh, he said, "Oh, gee whiz! I wish we could sure use some global warming now." Something like that. Let me see if I can bring it up.
Okay, spare yourself and us. I mean, yeah.
No,
stupidity.
he said, in the beautiful Midwest, wind chill temperatures are reaching minus 60 degrees, the coldest ever recorded. In coming days, expect to get even colder. People can't last outside even for minutes. What the hell is going on with global warming? Please come back fast. That's what your president tweeted.
Yeah, he's an idiot. This in the Wall Street Journal, recent research has found that diminishing sea ice north of Russia is what's screwing things up, destabilizing the polar vortex. And that's what's sending this air that normally is sitting over the Arctic down. So it is climate change, probably, that is behind this, again, sort of more intensified weather. Whatever, screw it. Anyway, you're lucky you're there, even if it's still not as warm as it usually is or not as sunny.
No, it's actually, the weather's nice now.
Oh,
so
that's
I'm
good.
not complaining at all.
Okay.
I'm just sorry that you guys are unhappy.
Well, we are where we are. Who the
I
hell
know,
is
my plan is working.
Who the hell is Marianne Williamson?
Marianne Williams?
Williamson.
I don't know.
I think she's like a new agey kind of a babe in California. And tonight, or was it last night? What's today? Tuesday. Last night she announced her her presidential run for the Democratic nomination in L.A. at a big shindig last night. Hordes of new agey people were there. Marianne
Williams?
Marianne Williamson.
That's what I'm saying. I've never heard of her. Okay.
Well, that's
She's
how.
not an elected
No.
official or anything.
No.
Okay.
I don't know. What,
And she's not Howard Schultz or Schwartz or whatever his name is.
Schultz. You can see Howard Schultz, who's
AKA you egotistical
asshole.
asshole.
Yeah, Howard went
I
on
mean,
a.
how would you like that to be your, the universal reaction to your announcement is, oh, shut up, go home, and stop trying to elect Trump. I mean, everybody is saying it. Bloomberg's yelling at him.
Everybody is. So if you didn't know what Susan was referring to, Schultz went to give a speech, I guess, last night, and he was not into it too far before some heckler said, something like, shut up, you rich
Don't run, you
billionaire
egotistical
egotistical asshole. Yeah, right. There's not a lot of
elect
love for
Donald
him.
Trump.
Yeah, that seems to be the general wisdom. Although some poll came out today. Screw all these polls and all this nonsense. But there's some huge percentage of Americans who are now telling pollsters that they definitely would not vote for Donald Trump in 2020. And I think it's 56% of registered voters.
Yeah.
Well,
but they have to live in the right states.
That's true. That would not necessarily keep him from winning
because
again.
we've done that before. Right.
Yeah.
Right. We did that before and he won.
Oh, God. Okay.
Yeah.
So we got to be...
I mean, the polls all make you very happy. The polls all say, oh, dear, we were terrible people. We really thought it would work. What were we thinking? I mean, they're saying all the right things, but that just doesn't matter if they're all sitting in, places where they aren't going to change the outcome.
Well, I don't know. Then there has to be, there really has to be some kind of
a... You could change 30% of Kentucky voters, and they'd still be... You could change 30% of Kentucky voters, and it would still go for Trump.
Yeah, that's why I really think we need young people who are willing to relocate to those states that can be tipped and register to vote and get some of these. We need some of our side living in some of these places, I think.
Right.
But they're not going to do it because young people don't want to live where there's no.
They've moved to they've turned to Colorado. They've moved to Colorado, and that's getting blue.
Yeah.
And. But, the other places, there just aren't enough people or places to go or jobs. So what are you going to do? Montana's Montana. There's nothing there.
Right. Except the
That's why it's so beautiful,
open
and everybody
spaces.
should go.
Yeah, wide
Right.
open spaces
Right.
that I love. Don't fence me in. So does anybody know about Marianne Williamson? She's some kind of an idiot. I mean, no, she's not. She's got a million people who think she's a genius. She's one of those lifestyle-y kind of thing. I don't know. Actually,
Oh,
I
God.
heard from some woman who I know, a young woman, who is also very, she's vegan and this and that, and she said over a month ago, I heard Marianne Williamson might run. Now, I could get behind her. So it's not as if there aren't mostly young, new agey, veganish, holistic types. I don't know how to characterize it, who think she's, some brilliant, wondrous woman. Anyway, she ain't going to make it, so we know that.
No, and we got Bernie Sanders out there again screwing up the waters. It's just like...
Have you seen, wait a minute, have you seen the video that got put out on social media, maybe today, I don't know, I saw it today, of, you wouldn't believe it, of Bernie Sanders and some other folks in 1980-something, and they're in Russia, and they're sitting around a table, and all the men are bare from the waist up, including Bernie, and they're singing, "This land is your land." I'm not kidding. And it turns out it's a video from his honeymoon with his current wife, when I guess he might have been the mayor of Burlington, Vermont, and Burlington had a sister city in Russia, and so a bunch of Burlington people went over. How they ended up with the men half naked sitting around a table singing "This land is your land" with some Russians is not known, but I think some heavy-duty alcohol would have something to do with it. But there is a video, and what's funny is Bernie, looks exactly the same.
Well, of course he does, because all those pictures of him when he was a dissident student look exactly the same.
Yeah, but he's already, and you know what? He's sitting there. He's clearly uncomfortable, I guess, being half naked, because his shoulders, his skinny white shoulders, are up.
Are rounded in?
No, are up to his ears. They're up to his ears. And actually, that's sort of his general...
He was chilly.
I don't know.
He was just cold.
But he's sitting there like this, and I don't... The kinds of remarks that I saw on Twitter were hysterical. I mean, a lot of people commenting about how maybe he looked 65 years old the day he was born. Just sort of like at any point in his life, you look at him and that's the way he looks, like this old man. But of course, some people are using it to say that there he was with Russians. Who goes to Russia on their honeymoon? People are saying.
Lots of people go to Russia. I mean, it's a beautiful place to visit, I've heard.
Well, yeah.
Lots of people go to Russia.
I don't hear a lot of positives for people traveling in Russia. Do you?
Oh, there are people that take, these river cruises and, you just get to these beautiful, places.
Every place.
And you whisk out. They have a good time.
Every place is beautiful. That's what I have found.
Yeah.
Everybody who thinks like, oh my God, look at the beauty. I mean, everywhere in this world is the globe is a beautiful place. Even the starkest environs, like a desert or a frozen tundra. There's a beauty in this world that is just mind-boggling. But I think I was thinking more in terms of accommodations and stuff like that. Didn't our parents go once? And I think Mother is still dissing the Russians. Isn't that true?
Yeah, they did go, but they went on one of those
cruises
things, and I think they were fine. Yeah.
No, I don't think they liked it. Hey, someone sent me something sort of interesting. We were all pissed off here that the Mr. Rogers documentary didn't make the Academy Award
the Oscar
cut.
list, yeah.
And that was a big snub. I mean, it's been written about a number of Times by folks, including the New York Times, what the hell happened. But Jonathan here was watching TV the other night, and there was a promo on ABC, which is carrying the Oscars. And he sent me the video, and it starts with, just scenes from the fourth scene, the fourth little cut. It's like a scene a minute. I mean, a second. Bang, bang, bang. This is, blah, blah, blah. The fourth piece of video in the Oscar promo that ABC has out has Mr. Rogers zipping up his sweater.
Well, that's false advertising.
Well, clearly, that promo was made before the nominations were announced. And ABC, like everybody else, thought it was a shoo-in. So I don't know if they're going to take that down, but he is in the Oscars promo when he's not even nominated. I'm just saying.
Well, but so they goof. They goof all the time. This year they were so busy proving that they were not the white people's awards anymore that they, they left them out.
This year they left white people out? No, that was last year.
Well, they were.
No, this year white people are back, I think, big time. No? Who knows? It's all a bunch of bullshit. Okay. Now,
it's all nonsense. I'm not paying attention. I didn't see any of the movies.
That's true. Well,
Oops, Ernie, shush.
You never do. So are you paying any attention to the crap that's going on in, we're also addicted now to thinking news is nothing more than what did Donald Trump, destroy today.
Right.
That there's two, really big foreign policy stories going on, and it's like I don't have the energy to even wade into them. I'll give you one.
Afghan peace talks.
Yes.
I don't know anything about Afghan peace talks.
Well, here, the fact is, it says here that America and Taliban, that's our enemy, guys, American and Taliban officials have agreed in principle to a deal in which we pull our troops out. That's it.
And which has absolutely nothing to do with the Afghan government, who is not involved in the talks, which I don't quite understand.
Well, I don't get it at all either, but here's the other thing. Here's what it says, New York Times today. Agreed in principle to the framework of a deal. So this is like they agreed in principle. That's fudged then. That's not an agreement. An agreement in principle to a framework of a deal. So that's not, doesn't mean there's a deal there. It's the framework of a deal in which the Taliban, get this, would guarantee Afghan territory would never be used by terrorists.
Well, how do they do that?
Well, do you believe that? Would you sign that?
No.
No. But, America wants out of this. It's been 2 decades. Believe it or not, there's second generations fighting in this war. I read an article not too long ago about an 18-year-old Army kid who was shipped over to Afghanistan where his father before him was killed, a father he never knew. Can you imagine if that doesn't say it all?
Yeah, well, but at what point do you take, and the minute we go, it just goes back to
exactly where it was.
So
exactly. So you pull the plug.
So is our responsibility to stay and accomplish nothing, or to leave and give up the little of the nothing that we accomplished?
I don't know.
To just admit that we wasted all those lives.
But isn't that how so Vietnam ended? When do we wise up? We send our sons and daughters off to die in these and be maimed in these places, and we don't emerge victorious. There's nothing gained. Nothing. Excuse me. But when do you pull the plug?
No, we don't.
Oh.
I mean, what does victory even look like? We don't even know what victory looks like in this day and age, because we admit that everything is constantly in a state of flux and change. So peace today doesn't mean peace tomorrow, and a deal today doesn't mean a deal tomorrow. And if anybody has proven that true, it's the United States of America in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So how we assume that we can make a deal and expect anybody to have any faith or confidence that we have any intention of keeping it ourselves?
Yeah.
You know, who makes deals with liars?
All right, so there's Afghanistan. I'm just saying, this is a big, huge story that nobody even gives a shit about anymore, apparently. Then the scarier one to me is the next war, Venezuela.
Yeah.
There is, I mean, if you listen to Bolton the other day, who never saw a war he didn't want to get us involved in, Trump and Bolton are just itching to somehow show their muscle and knock Maduro out in Venezuela. And of course, this is a fraught kind of a situation going on in Venezuela, because you do have the Russians moving in support. It could be another proxy war between.
It's another proxy war.
I don't really know.
It's Vietnam in South America.
Yeah, but South America is our hemisphere, and that's where a lot of Americans do immediately then see a threat. It's like Cuba. It's like we can't let them.
Oh no, I'm not saying it. I'm not saying that is dismissively in any way. I'm just saying it's duplicating the circumstances that we had before, where we're fighting a proxy war. Except this time, it's a hop, skip, and a short plane ride from our country.
Now, if you were Donald Trump and Mueller's closing in on you, and even the pollster, even Fox News is saying things about you that make you angry, and you got 2 more years.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah, but I mean, wouldn't you see this as a tantalizing? He likes bright, shiny objects to distract. And Venezuela is looking real shiny now. And I don't pretend to know what the smart way to deal with this dissolution going on in Venezuela is. I don't begin to know how. I'm always amazed at how everybody becomes a foreign policy expert all of a sudden. Like, I can assure you, I'm not.
Every time we've dabbled our hands in, think about Argentina, think about, it hasn't gone well, and we, and it's resulted in I mean, we've let despots stay too long until we interfere and topple, and then something terrible happens. No one's ever happy with our interference.
Well, this opposition figure that we have recognized as the actual president of Venezuela, he appreciates it. But I don't know. Scary. There's like serious saber rattling going on the Republican side on this.
But, I think we should look at places like Venezuela really hard, because if you go back, 20 years, that country is flying high. Everybody is wealthy. They've got all this oil money. The economy's humming. Everything's good. Fast forward 20 years, people are leaving by the millions. There is no economy. The inflation is something like 10,000%. That's how fast a whole government entity country can turn around. If you don't think that can happen here, you're crazy. We're watching it happening.
Right.
We're daring it to happen.
Well, I do agree that Venezuela was that was an extraordinary strong economy And people, that was an extraordinary country. It's destroyed. But see, the Republican point of view is socialism destroyed it. Hugo Chavez destroyed it. Obviously, I am in agreement with some of that. Hugo Chavez did.
Yeah, I am too.
Did destroy it, but that's not socialism. It is tyranny.
No, that's Hugo Chavez.
Tyranny.
Yeah, that's Hugo Chavez. That's different.
Oh, God.
That was a bad man.
And
like we have a bad man.
And that's what bad men can do to a strong economy and a great country, and just take it down. Unbelievable. Barbara just sent me a quote from a guy who looks like a 2-star general. I can't tell how many. He's got a strange name. Smedley. That's his first name. Can you imagine having a little baby and looking at a little baby and saying, I'm going to name you Smedley? What would you have to be? What kind of a jerk would you have to be?
No, that's the cute pet name you give your baby. It's not.
Yeah, right. Smedley.
Oh, you.
Smedley D. Butler. But here's what General Butler said. War is a racket. It's always been. It is possibly the oldest, easily the most profitable, surely the most vicious. It is the only one international in scope. It is the only one in which the profits are reckoned in dollars and the losses in lives. That's a guy who gets it, and who, war is a racket. It hasn't always been. Sometimes, war sometimes has to be fought, for survival. It's true. But most of the wars we've been getting into have not been wars for our true
No, they've been
defense.
over economic. They've been over economic issues. That's the only thing that catches our interest. Otherwise, we don't care.
Just pocketbook stuff. Really?
Yeah.
Well, I was
otherwise, why aren't we?
I don't know. I was saying the other day that it seems to me that the values of the average American now are cheap goods, access to cheap goods fast, right? That's what.
Or free stuff.
Or free stuff.
That's
cheap goods fast, free stuff. These are not the kind of things that should be that drive a great country. This is a country in which the citizens have been turned into brainless consumers, I think, addicted to immediate gratification, right? Hey, yeah, it is true. So, Susan, I was at the food store the other day, our local big chain.
The food store?
The
grocery? Yeah.
Yes. And I, how do you pronounce grocery? Do you say grocery or grocery?
Grocery. I sort of slur it, so it's halfway in between them.
I think I do too, but I don't think that's right.
I don't say grocery, and I aim for grocery, but it frequently comes out grocery.
Me too. Do you think that's a Green Bay thing? Grocery?
Probably.
Okay. So I avoid the word. Grocery store. That's why I said the food.
Well, I know, but food store sounded sort of stupid.
Well, because why? Because there's so much stuff other than food in it? Why?
Well, I don't know. It's because
Food
it's not
store.
what it's called. It's called a grocery store. I'm going to the grocery store.
And what is the definition of grocery?
It's all the stuff that you put in the kitchen.
Is
so
it?
It's all sorts of food stuffs and food. Oh, yeah, I consider paper napkins groceries. I consider toilet paper groceries.
I don't know. Okay. All right. So that was totally not what I was talking about. So I was at the giant fucking Eagle yesterday, okay?
That works better. Okay.
Okay. And as
Giant
I'm
fucking eagle.
as I'm waiting to check out, my head turns to the display of, tabloids and the National Enquirer and People Magazine and Us and In Touch and all those ones that are there. And there it was, a picture of Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston. And it said, "We're having a girl."
Right. I saw that. What
Okay.
the tabloids sell us.
Well, but here's the thing. I remember looking at it thinking, every other month you look at the tabloids and it's Jennifer Aniston is pregnant. Brad Pitt is back in her life. Jen and Brad, and someone actually did the tally. According to that tabloid, okay, exclamation point.
Yeah.
Jennifer Aniston would have 15 children since 2013. Having been pregnant, according to their front page, nine times and twice with twins, also while adopting a third set of twins. This is what and people buy this shit. I mean,
and they are so clearly sitting around and just making this stuff
up. Because Jennifer Aniston, first of all, is not back together with Brad Pitt. They used to be married a long time ago. And there's this interesting story by Jim Ruttenberg in I think it was the Times yesterday, saying that this is akin to how we get Donald Trump as president, because these publications are working with human nature, and they give the people what the people want to be true. And people want, apparently, Jennifer Aniston to have a baby. And they want her to be pregnant. And so they buy this stuff even though they've been told it before and it wasn't true, and they buy it again even though they're told it and it wasn't true. And does this start sounding about Trump supporters? Yeah.
Even though Jennifer Aniston, this person that they think that they're so enthralled with, comes straight out and tells them, I ain't pregnant, I'm not adopting, I'm not looking to get pregnant, I'm not having any babies. Put it out of your head. It's never true.
It doesn't matter.
They don't listen to her.
No.
They listen to them.
That's right. And the fact is, that is exactly why you cannot shake the Trump base. They want him to be who they want him to be, and no fact, no fact. And he came out of that realm of the tabloid. The lie doesn't matter. Just keep the people, give the people what they want. If it's amazing, actually, how much that every time you're going to see Jennifer Aniston is pregnant again, that is how Donald Trump, a failed businessman who ended up getting a TV show that put off on the American
in which
people
he played a successful businessman.
Yes, in which he played a successful, strong businessman. And okay, so Trump ran his campaign, it says, and he runs the White House with a reliance on that same mix of fantasy and desire of the supermarket tabloids and reality TV. This is the genre that he mastered and that saved him and that brought him to the Oval Office because of the stupidity, gullibility, and lack of seriousness, I guess, on the part of so many Americans who simply wanted him to be who he said he was or who he played on TV. I mean, would these people go to, Marcus Welby, MD, as their doctor? Do they not comprehend? They don't.
In fact, they probably would.
Yeah.
They were certainly disappointed with their own doctors when they weren't Marcus Welby, MD.
That is true. So I'm just saying that piece is, it's our wishes, our desires that the National Enquirer and OK Magazine and people, that they reflect back onto us. And the truth, obviously, be damned. So they can, without missing a beat, tell you that Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston are expecting a baby, and then, of course, the baby never comes. And then 3 months later, they'll put the same kind of thing out there again, that they're expecting a baby. Because people keep buying it. To me, that is the scariest thing. It's just fucking scary.
But it's all over. How many times have you seen the same basic ad with a different star? So-and-so is quitting The View, and why? To sell her own skincare. And I mean, it's always got a different television personality or person on it.
But it's the same story.
So-and-so is leading, and it's always the same story, and it's always to found some sort of a fantastic new beauty line, and that you're supposed to buy. Why wouldn't you notice that those people didn't quit?
I don't know. Because your desire to have reality mirror what you want to believe is stronger than
truth. It puts me in mind of people who call themselves life coaches that have absolutely no training, hang up their life coach shingle, and basically sit around and think they're doing psychotherapy with people. I mean, I don't know. That's the only way I can describe what I think they're doing. I mean, they're and why anybody would go to a totally uncredentialed human being who calls themselves a life coach to get what? What are you paying them for?
I don't understand that either. I think maybe that's what Marianne Williamson kind of is.
Well, that's what you were describing. But
right.
Why would you pay any? Why would you pay? Well, it's like me saying, I know you come to me. I was married to one once. I can listen to you and say, and I'll charge you $3
right. Well, it is. It is.
Why not?
I know it. If you can portray, expertise, you play at being expert. If you come on confidently, people, it's all in the show. I guess that's what we're finding out. You walk the walk, you talk the talk, you put on the show, you hang up the shingle. And that works these days. It worked for Donald Trump.
I'm just saying to any of you people out there that are paying good money to someone like that, go in and ask them what their credentials are and what it is that they know, what it is exactly that they are going to do for you that comes from said expertise such that you should pay them for it. I'd be really interested in what
Susan,
the answers are.
You know what? I don't think there's just hundreds of millions of people now who do not value
Education.
Credentials. Yeah, credentials. They don't. As a matter of fact, they scorn them, I think. And they think the outliers have the I don't know. And I do think that most people don't have a clue what psychiatrists or psychoanalysts know, or if they're able, there's
how they do
but there's so many lousy ones out there. There are, and in every profession,
Well,
there
no,
are
there are
lousy
a
ones.
lot of people that are allowed to call themselves therapists that aren't trained.
Yeah, but even the trained ones can be idiots. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh no, I know so many of them that my I used to have a whole handbook of advice on how to choose a therapist.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway,
But
Laura.
I always stressed good education. They had to know their stuff first, and then you had to find the right person.
Mhm.
But the right person needed to have the right training as well. It's not like you don't have to know something to do it well.
All right, so just back. This is.
And-
Okay, wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Laura.
Go ahead.
Laura writes from Ann Arbor. She says, "Well, no, it's not a Green Bay thing. Maybe it's a regional thing, as she also fudges grocery." She doesn't say. She says grocery. Actually, we're not fudging. We just say grocery. Yes, we do.
Well, no, but it's a soft.
Grocery.
It's just sort of
Grocery
a slurry
is
C
what I
as
say.
opposed to an SH.
It's groshry. Grocery. That's why I avoid it, because I know I'm saying it wrong. But that's how it comes out of my mouth.
But I don't say grocery. I put more of a syllable in there. I say grocery. It's got a re in there.
Laura also says it was good hearing Ernie in the background.
Sorry, we're locked up in my bedroom. We have house guests.
Oh, right. Lou writes, I'm catching up on email here, guys. Lou writes, my brother, an accomplished craftsman, taught me this. Pick two of the following. And here are the following. Cheap, good, fast. The two chosen disqualify the last choice. What? Works with everything, even government employees. In other words, you can't have something good if it's cheap and fast, right? Cheap and good is not fast. Good and fast is not cheap. And fast and cheap is not good. Okay, all right. But they're stupid values, and we've been Pavlovian dog made to value speed. It's why Amazon is what Amazon is. And did you see what I do not want to ever deal with Amazon. Every once in a while, on occasion, I do, and I hate myself for it.
You don't want a little motorized scooter coming to your door delivering your package?
I don't want to enrich Jeff Bezos anymore. And did you see how much he gives to charity? He's the richest man in the world.
What, 36 cents, huh?
No, not even 1% of his. Not even 1%. It's 0.0 some.
Well, did you notice how his mistress looks exactly like his wife? He certainly
Yes, I
has
did.
the type.
I did. He likes the type. Yeah, that's quite clear. Yeah, I did see him with
Look, give me a new pretty brunette.
A new skinny pretty brunette. Right. And Chris writes, have you heard the theory as to why Trump recently has been saying that women are being duct taped and put into cars to come across the border, and that the Mexicans have super cars able to outrun border guards, and prayer rugs are being found in the desert? And guess what? Chris is saying that's all in one what movie?
It is. It's all from a movie.
People are thinking Trump saw this movie, and now he's decided it was reality, and so he sent U.S. troops to the border because he saw a movie in which there were prayer shawls in the desert and big car chases with Mexicans in the big cars and duct tape women in the trunk.
And women with being duct taped and masked. And Rachel Maddow even showed a scene from the movie
What?
last night.
You're kidding.
No.
Okay, well, there it is again. God, I just can't take it. It's living in a crazy place. We're living in a crazy place.
We are living in a crazy place. And so what we need to stop doing is focusing on Donald Trump and start focusing on the Congress and their total refusal and anybody, the cabinet, everybody, to act according to their oaths of office, which is to uphold the Constitution, act in the best interest of the country, not your party, not your power. If the president is a lunatic, you got to get him out of there.
Yeah, but he's a lunatic
That
who's
is your
enacting, who's putting.
responsibility.
Yeah, but he's a lunatic who's putting all these, Federal Society judges all over the federal judiciary, and he's given our rich masters tax breaks, and I mean they love what they and he are able to do, and the fact
We're
that
gonna
he's
get rid of
insane.
the rest of the estate tax now. Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Well, they're not going to do
It
that with
really
this.
is
With this,
unbelievable.
they're not. They can't do it with this Congress, right?
Hopefully not.
No,
I
not
would
with this
think not.
House. Not with this House.
Speaking of which, did you listen to Elizabeth Warren's interview last night?
Elizabeth Warren? No.
Yeah. She did it was on one of the cable networks. But anyway, Mother and I listened, and our house guest, and I have to say, I had not been a fan of hers, and for no good reason, I decided, because I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention. But I listened to her platform and what she was saying and how she was presenting it last night.
Oh, I'm sure it's good.
And I was wowed. I was absolutely wowed.
Wow.
When she discussed her tax plan and explained, in comprehensible terms, real numbers, that the average taxpayer pays about 9%, of the lower levels of taxes of their entire income go to tax. And for the super wealthy, it's down to, less than 1%.
Yeah.
And all she's suggesting is that we not just slightly even the playing field between the wealthy and the poor. And instead, you have to understand how this happened. I mean, they chipped away. They got their way a little bit at a time until all of a sudden the burden of running the country is on the poor, and the wealthy sit around and count their money.
Yeah. Yep.
And then she went on to another issue, and I looked at Mother and I said, Mom, I keep hearing that what I read the other day about how all of us, especially women, have to be very careful to keep our own misogyny in check. And every time I think, yeah, but not Elizabeth Warren, I have to say, why? Why? Just because Donald Trump has been calling her Pocahontas for the last 2 years? And it's infected insidiously the way you think about her? You're going to let him do that?
All right. Yeah.
And the same thing for Kamala Harris. I mean, we got to really sit down and listen to these people and hear what they have to say, because they've got some very good, very well-articulated, well-thought-out policy ideas that this country is terribly hungry for, and we should be listening.
Yeah. So, as we've been talking, the heads of that's a good point, Susan. It's a damn good point, forcefully said. And
well, thank you, sister. I'm sorry. I didn't mean. I just remembered that.
No,
I saw
agree.
That.
I think it's words. I think those are wise words. I really do. And yeah, everything you said. What you said, I'm absolutely agreeing.
What I said, because I know I'm doing it. If I'm doing it, I'm sure just about everybody else is doing it too.
Right. I just want to this sort of stuff going on while we're talking. You have the CIA director and the FBI director and all the heads of our intelligence services before the where are they? Before the Senate, I think, right now testifying.
Just briefing them, yeah.
The Senate Intelligence Committee. And they are up there literally undercutting every friggin' thing that Donald Trump has said about North Korea. They agree that, Kim Jong, he's going to meet with that idiot again. And our intelligence just told our senators who aid and abet Trump that he isn't going to give up his nuclear stockpiles. And they also said,
busily at it.
Yeah, and they also said, and Iran is not up to what Trump keeps accusing him, Trump and Bolton are accusing them of. Iran is not currently undertaking key nuclear weapons development activity. Both these things directly contradict two of the president's foreign policy biggies. Those are his things. Iran is making, and also Dan Coates, the director of national intelligence, said that Trump saying that the Islamic State has been defeated is absolutely ridiculous. He said, "Are you kidding? They still command thousands of fighters in Iraq, in Syria. They have branches and networks around the world. Didn't they just blow the hell out of a place in Manila in the Philippines? They're everywhere." And just because Donald Trump says he defeated them, oh, God. Oh. It's really, again, here we come back to that tabloid, we have a tabloid president. He has a tabloid mentality. He's surrounded by enough people who are willing to hang with him while he takes us off into Crazyville. And we're there. God damn. Did you see Tom Brokaw's remarks?
I didn't. I read of them, and I did read. I think I read what he wrote, but
here's what he said. Here's what he said. Hispanics should work.
Something about assimilation.
Yeah, Hispanics should work harder at assimilation. That's one of the things I've been saying for a long time. They ought not to be just codified in their communities, but make sure that all of their kids are learning to speak English and that they feel comfortable in the communities, and that's going to take outreach on both sides. And it's going to take outreach on both sides, frankly. This was so stupid because they have a better assimilation rate than almost any other group.
I didn't know what he was talking about.
No, well, it's just I don't know. I mean, and he had to walk it back because he was spreading false information.
I hate to say this, but I think he's just getting a little old.
I would agree. I think they should take him off.
And I think his brain is not working up to the snuff that it used to, because I don't think he would have said that 20 years ago.
And here's another thing that he said, and he was saying a lot of this we don't want to talk about. But the fact is, on the Republican side, a lot of people see the rise of an extraordinary, important new constituency in American politics, Hispanics, who will come here and be Democrats, which, by the way, is not true either. Hispanics are not all.
It really isn't true.
Because of their Catholicism, they tend to be very conservative in many ways, and they are not, knee-jerk Democrats. They are not. So that's wrong. And then he said, I hear when I push people a little harder, well, I don't know whether I want brown grandbabies. I mean, that's another part of it. So he brought up the fact that this is based in racism. And he says, but listen to this. Now, I don't fault him for saying that because he is mouthing the words of people on the Republican side who, for this, it's a racial thing, right? And so listen, to what one of Jeb Bush's son, the one who's the Agriculture Committee, the Agriculture Secretary in Texas, which is a George P. Bush, he said, with all due he tweets, with all due respect to Tom Brokaw, I am one of those little brown ones and can assure you that my grandparents conveyed to me that they loved and were proud of me. However, what he leaves out with that tweet is something that so many of us remember, that his grandfather, who did love him, famously said, and there are my two little brown ones.
Yeah.
Now, that's no different than, and all hell broke loose when he said that, if you'll recall. I think he was president at the time. H.W. said it. But for then, the little brown one who he was referring to get in Tom Brokaw's face about saying little brown ones, when his own, I am just so sick of this world we're living in, and the back and forth, and everything that anybody says is elevated and exploded, and I just, and I'm part of it. I hate this. I want us all to go back to not having any of these gizmos. I want things to slow down. I don't want to know what everybody has to say or think about everything. I'm tired. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I try and limit that stuff, but then people send me things like I don't pay very much attention to Twitter, for example. But then I get awakened at 5 o'clock this morning by one of my Midwestern friends retweeting Trump's
tweet
thing in a message,
Yeah. Well, the only one I'm addicted to is Twitter. And it's a problem for me because that is the fastest way to get news. And that's what I traffic in is news. So professionally, I feel like it's the easiest way for me to see what's happening at any given time. And of course, you follow who you want to follow on Twitter. So I'm following news organizations and people who write news. But then all these fights are breaking out all the time. It really is. I can't imagine what some people follow on Twitter, how ugly it must get. But it's
yeah, well, I can't do it. I get enough drama in my real life that I don't need to be angered by other people's recreational anger.
What do you mean? You're the one who's always responding to people online, Suze.
Yeah, I'm barely doing it. Because how often can you say the same thing to the same people? And
you're not making, and nobody moves, nobody budges. They don't turn you around. You don't turn them around. It's just a screaming match.
I did drop a comment on your Facebook page the other day. However, because of that thing about men being afraid to, and I love the term mentor.
Mentor women. Yes, that was yesterday's. So what did you say?
Yeah.
What did you say?
I just said nothing to be afraid of here, boys. Just keep your hands to yourself, keep your prurient thoughts to yourself, and treat us with respect. Everything will be just fine.
See, but what they're afraid of. But Susan,
and then I think I said something about mentoring. Who said we needed to be mentored? I think I said.
But what the thing is, what they're afraid of, and what they believe, I guess, must be happening is false.
Is that somebody will make something
false
up
accusation.
Right.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
And what makes them think these accusations are all false?
Well,
and that the whole thing is it's like just behave yourself. I don't care what they think. It's like they're on a fishing hook and they're twitching. Because why? They want to be inappropriate in the workplace? You know, if you aren't going to grab a man's ass, don't grab a woman's ass. Just treat her like one of the guys. You'll be fine.
All right. I think on those wise words, Susan, I thank you very much. And you can take Ernie out now. He's been very quiet.
Well, he barked twice, and then when he saw that I was not moving,
he sighed deeply.
Went back to bed.
I know. I just love dog sighs. I mean, it's like he goes back to bed.
Yeah.
I know.
And the instruction is now I'm going to get up and I'm going to throw on my running clothes, and he's going to take the leash in his mouth, and he's going to take me for a run.
Great. All right. Well,
that's what he does every morning, and you should see the grin on his face. You should also see the look on my face. But the grin on his face.
Oh, okay. Well,
okay, bye.
Bye, Suze. Thank you. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. And all right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Ugh. In the bitter cold, I shall come, assuming my car starts, or I can get to the bus way, or whatever. Okay. See ya, and be smart. Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.